quite frankly, this topic is not really something that a lawyer who practices civil litigation like I do would really know anything about. But I was asked to be on the panel, and so I spent some, okay, how's this? If you can't hear me, can you hear me? Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, I mean, you know, I'm kind of tall, in case you haven't noticed, so anyway, how's that? Better? Okay. So anyway, so I prepared information for you, and it's hard to know exactly what kind of information to give a crowd that's so diverse like this, but I'm just going to kind of give you the general history of corporate personhood. And if you find that I'm going on too long, I feel that you should just feel free to yell out, shut up, and let the next person talk, okay? So, Mitt Romney, the guy who's one of the Republicans running, was at some kind of a campaign thing, and he was talking about whether to raise taxes or not, and somebody said, well, raise taxes on the corporations. And his response was, well, corporations are people too. Now, shortly after that, Doonesbury wrote that he would believe that corporations are people when Texas executes one. Anyway, so the question, I know, and on that same topic, I don't know if you know that today our governor stopped executions in Oregon. Has already been successful. So. Okay, so the question is was Romney right? Are corporations people too? And yes, under U.S. law, corporations are persons under certain circumstances. So originally, our U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights did not consider that corporations were people and didn't even make any mention of them. But eventually, in 1868, you probably all remember that there was a Civil War, and then there was 1868, and the 14th Amendment was passed. And the purpose of the 14th Amendment was to protect the freed slaves and to give them the same rights as other white American men. So, I mean, that's a whole other topic. But the fact is that the purpose of the 14th Amendment was to give freed slaves the same rights as other Americans. So, when it was passed, it gave freed slaves the same rights and privileges as other Americans and equal protection under the law, and prevented them from being deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. So that's obviously a lofty goal. So what happens in the 1880s, corporations started bringing cases in the Supreme Court saying, like, we're persons, and we're protected in the same way that, the freed slave should be. And the Supreme Court of the United States did something which is kind of unusual, which it said, you know what, we don't even need to hear an argument that corporations are people, because we believe that corporations are people, so you don't even have to argue that to us. That's kind of weird, quite frankly, but just because normally at least you have to present an argument, but in this case, no argument was ever presented. So that case is, what is that case? That case is Santa Clara versus Southern Pacific. So one thing that you'll notice when you hear these cases, they always have names that like are insurance companies or railroads or, anyway, you kind of get the picture, corporation. So that was it. That is the first case that really said that corporations are, quote, people too.